Would you survive a single day in a city where the streets are narrower than a cart? The river rises and falls like a breathing animal, and 80,000 people live packed behind ancient walls of stone. Mist clings to dark timber roofs. Church bells begin to ring somewhere in the fog. And beneath you, the mud of the street shifts under boots, hooves, and cart wheels. This is London in the year 1300. Today we walk through the real medieval city, rebuilt through historical records, archaeology, and AI reconstruction. Not the romantic city of knights and castles, but the living organism of markets, river trade, crowded homes, and dangerous streets. 7 stops, from the Thames at dawn to the curfew bell after dark. The deeper we move into the city, the clearer something becomes. This place is powerful, but it is also fragile, and the danger is already growing. 3 forces shape daily life here. First, the river. Every ship, every cargo, every rumor from Europe enters through the tidal waters of the River Thames. Second, pressure. Nearly 100,000 people crowd inside walls built for a Roman town centuries earlier. Third, risk. Fire, disease, hunger, and violence are constant companions in a city made mostly of timber and mud. And somewhere beyond this crowded moment in history, another threat is quietly approaching. But this morning, London is alive. The sky is pale over the water. Ships sit shoulder to shoulder along the timber quays, their masts rising like a forest against the light. Ropes creak softly in the wind. The tide presses against the wharf pilings with a slow, grinding sound. This waterfront has been the city's lifeline since Roman times. Every cargo entering London arrives here. Barrels of wine from France, wool bound for the cloth markets of Flanders, saltfish, timber, grain. Men shout to one another in accents from across England and the continent. Dockworkers roll barrels down wooden ramps slick with river mud. Horses strain against harnesses as carts wait to carry cargo inland. The air smells of wet rope, tar, smoke, and fish. Behind the quays, the ground rises only slightly above the high tide line. Much of this land was once marsh, slowly reclaimed through embankments built by monasteries and landowners over the past 2 centuries. Without these rough earthworks, the river would simply reclaim the city. London lives here because this is the lowest reliable crossing point of the Thames. Every traveler between northern and southern England must pass this place, which means every road eventually leads to the same narrow crossing ahead. And that crossing changes everything. A massive structure cuts across the water. 19 stone arches hold it above the rushing tide. Timber and rubble barriers force the current through narrow channels beneath the spans, turning the river into a roaring chute. This is London Bridge. Nearly 1,000 feet long, it is the only dry crossing of the river for miles in either direction. But it is not simply a bridge. It is a street lined with houses and shops. Houses crowd along both sides of the roadway. Shops open directly over the rushing water. Timber balconies lean toward one another until the sky above becomes a narrow strip of pale light. Merchants sell cloth, knives, bread, candles. Children run between carts while travelers squeeze through the crowded passage. Below, the river surges violently between the piers. Boatmen call the dangerous rush beneath the bridge shooting the arches, a maneuver so risky that many refuse to attempt it. But on top of the bridge, the city flows endlessly. This crossing never truly sleeps. And where the bridge touches the southern bank, another London waits. The bridge spills into the streets of Southwark. Here the buildings spread wider. The streets feel looser, less tightly controlled. This district sits beyond the direct authority of the city's guilds and officials, which means certain businesses flourish here. Inns line the road leading south toward Canterbury. Taverns spill noise into the street. Travelers, pilgrims, merchants, and sailors crowd the doorways. Southwark feeds on movement. Every cart crossing the bridge stops here. Every traveler leaving London passes through these streets. From above, the district looks less dense than the city across the river. But its roads connect England to the continent. Trade, rumor, and travelers all pass through this place, which means London is never isolated. The wider world is always pushing against its gates, and those gates stand directly ahead. Stone towers rise above the rooftops. The ancient Roman wall still forms the hard edge of the medieval city. Along its circuit stand the great gates: Newgate, Aldgate, Bishopsgate, Ludgate. Each one is a choke point. Carts halt beneath stone towers while officials inspect goods and collect tolls. Guards watch unfamiliar faces carefully. The gates close at night. Inside the walls lies the political heart of the city. By the early 14th century, London is divided into 24 wards, each governed by aldermen and civic officials. Guilds dominate economic life, controlling apprenticeships, quality standards, and even prices. The Lord Mayor rises from these merchant ranks. Within these walls, London largely governs itself. But the streets inside are not spacious avenues. They are narrow channels carved through dense timber buildings, and they all lead towards the city's commercial spine. The street widens slightly. Crowds thicken. Voices rise above the clatter of carts and hooves. You have entered Cheapside. This is the commercial heart of the city. Timber houses lean forward above the street, their upper stories nearly touching across the road. Shop shutters fold down into counters. Traders call out prices over the noise of the crowd. Street names reveal the map of the economy: Milk Street, Bread Street, Poultry, Honey Lane, Goldsmiths Row. Each district specializes in particular goods. Fishmongers shout beside barrels of salted herring. Bakers pull dark loaves from ovens heated since before dawn. Goldsmiths hammer delicate cups and rings beneath dim workshop light. The market is crowded enough that arguments often turn violent. Modern historians studying medieval coroners' records call this area part of the city's murder map. Crowds, drink, and sharp tools create a dangerous mix. An insult over price can become a knife fight before anyone notices. But the market does not stop. The city's survival depends on constant exchange, which means behind every shop lies another world entirely. A narrow doorway opens into shadow. The ground floor of the building serves as both shop and workshop. A wooden shutter lifts to form a counter facing the street. Inside, the air smells of wool, leather, smoke, and metal. This is not simply a workplace. It is a home. A small room behind the shop holds a hearth, stools, benches, and perhaps a folding chair known as a faldestwell. Above, reached by a cramped stair or ladder, lie one or two sleeping chambers. Families share these spaces with apprentices and servants. At night, chamber pots replace any form of plumbing. The buildings around you are almost entirely timber-framed. Walls are plastered white. Upper floors jut outward over the street. Roofs are covered with thatch, wooden shingles, or tiles in wealthier districts. Stone buildings are rare, reserved for churches, bridges, and the homes of the richest merchants. From above, the city resembles a forest of timber structures pierced by church towers. And there are many of them. Nearly 110 parish churches stand inside the city. Their bells rule the rhythm of the day. The bells begin again as daylight fades. Work slows. Market stalls close. Cart drivers hurry toward the gates before they shut. The streets darken quickly. Torches flicker along the walls. Smoke drifts low between buildings. Curfew approaches. The gates of the city close for the night. Only a few people remain in the streets. Watchmen, travelers with torches, and those who prefer darkness for their work. Animals still move in the lanes. Pigs root through refuse. Chickens flutter in doorways. Chamber pots empty into gutters where waste slowly collects before being scraped away. The air smells of wood smoke, manure, and river mud. Over everything, the roar of the Thames continues beneath the arches of London Bridge, its tide pushing against the city that depends on it. London feels powerful tonight, a crowded machine of trade, religion, and ambition. But this moment is also a peak. Only a few decades from now, a catastrophe will reach these streets. The Black Death will cut London's population nearly in half. Crowded houses will empty, markets will fall silent, entire wards will lose their people. But tonight the city does not know this yet. Tonight London is loud, crowded, restless, and breathing beside the dark river. So, would you survive a day here? Or would this city slowly turn you into something else before morning comes?